There are many other functions that we now have available to us because the analysis tool pack has been added to Excel. Basically, all of 7th grade math is now made obsolete with Excel. If you need to figure out the greatest common denominator of two numbers, it's the GCD function. Need to figure out the least common multiple? The LCM function. If you need to figure out fractions, just enter the decimal, 3.76545, and format the cell using format cells. I'll use Control 1. Choose the fraction option, and you can choose whether you want the fraction expressed in a 1-digit, 2-digit, or 3-digit denominator. Turns out that that number is 3 in 545 7/12. Now, my hometown is Akron, Ohio, and Akron, Ohio is one of the last places where we still care about things in 30 seconds. The tire industry still measures tread depth in 30 seconds. Even though there isn't a built-in function for 30 seconds, we can choose custom and then specify that we want to see the number rounded to the nearest 32nd. There we have 3 and 24 30-seconds. It just boggles my mind how many different functions there are in Excel. If you happen to have bad news to report, here we have a simple income statement, $3,981,000 of revenue last year, almost all of it is expenses, and only $82,000 in profit. If your job is to report this to senior management, there's a function for you. Use the Roman function. Hide column B, give the income statement in Roman numerals, and you'll at least be able to get out of the room before they figure out what's going on. Now, who could possibly use the Roman function? There's two people, Paul Tagliabue to figure out which Super Bowl it is this year, and Steven Spielberg. At the very end of the credits, they always put the year in Roman numerals. Other than that, I'm not sure who could really use the Roman function. I recently finished a large project to write special edition using Excel 2007. This is one of those big monster books. There's 3 books that are the big 1,000-page books that are cradle-to-grave books about Excel. You have to write about every single feature and every single function, including the 350 functions in Excel. Most of the time, those books just tend to repeat whatever's in help. And at the outset, I said, it would be really interesting if I could find a household use for every single function. I was doing great. I got through 350 of them, but there were 2 functions that completely defied explanation. The first function is square root of pi equal sqrt pi, which takes a number, multiplies it by pi, and then takes the square root of that. Well, lots of times in my books, I talk about how to figure out which pizza is the best deal, where you have to take pi r squared, but square root of pi has nothing to do with that. There's no pizza example that square root of pi works for. The other one that completely confused me is this function. Fact double function. Now, if you remember statistics, there was a factorial function. The factorial of 7 is 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. But the double factorial takes every other number. So the double factorial of 9 is 9 times 7 times 5 times 3 times 1. I couldn't think of any reason why I would ever use this. I called my math friends. I mean, these are people that teach math in college. They're math whizzes. No idea. I went out to a search engine on the internet, and I searched for fact double, and the only entry I could find was someone in 1999 writing an Excel book saying, I need to figure out what fact double is used for. Does anyone know? And there was no answer. Well, I know the folks at Microsoft, so I pulled in one of my favorites and said, hey, guys, I'm trying to write this book. Can you go back and search through the archives and see if there was any notes about why you added fact double to Excel? Some customer somewhere must have asked for it. They said, we're on it. A couple days later, they came back and they said, we don't know. We don't have any record. We're not sure why it's there, but with 400 million people using Excel, we sure can't take it out because someone somewhere might be using it. One of my books is available every Tuesday. I send a couple of chapters out for free, and so every Tuesday I get to talk to 15,000 Excel users. The next Tuesday, I kind of put a challenge out there. I said, hey, is anyone using fact double? Is there any good reason for fact double? Well, it took less than 2 hours and I had my answer. I was so impressed. And when you hear what fact double is good for, you'll understand that whoever put this in the product, either at Microsoft or Lotus, 15 or 20 years ago, clearly could see into the future. They knew that here in the 21st century, we would have so many cable channels on our TV that there'd be not one but 2 cable channels that do nothing all night other than show Texas Hold'em poker tournaments. And sure enough, the fact double function is the function that you use to figure out the probability that your hand will win over an opponent's. There you have it. Fact double for all you Texas Hold'em fans. So back to my book. I'm trying to write about these 350 functions. When I got to fact double, my only explanation, and I said this with a straight face in the book, fact double used to calculate Texas Hold'em probabilities. And we moved on. Well, my other gambling example is definitely work-related, and this uses the COMBIN function. The reason that this is important is if your local state lottery gets large enough and the office decides to pool their money together in order to enter a lottery pool, you need to be able to figure out what the odds are. And the combine function will do that. Type equal COMBIN. You need to specify how many numbers there are in your local lottery. Put a comma, and then enter the number of balls that they're going to choose from the pool. So if you happen to live in a state that's looking for 6 numbers out of 40, the odds are 3.83 million to 1. As I copy this formula down, you'll see that the odds increase dramatically. 6 balls out of 47 is 10.7 million to 1. 6 balls out of 51 is 18 million to 1. Now, I always use this as a guide. If the jackpot isn't at least $18 million more than our bet, I don't play. Let's move on.